Thabiso on Jacaranda FM.
Thabiso for Jacaranda FM, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing the one and only Johan Oldenberg. Now, this guy, man, Johan, when I read your book, Immigrating Successfully, I was like, no, I want people to stay in my country. But I was like, Taviso, to your ignorance, just do a bit of research and actually hear what Johan is all about. And man, you're an amazing gentleman, I must say, a beautiful businessman. And you're born in Richards Bay. You're actually born in South Africa. And it's not that you're rooting for people to actually go out of South Africa. You're just basically giving us a few points of how we can actually do it successfully. But before we get there, I want to get to this Richards Bay born guy who studied at Rau, and now it's UJ, and who basically went to Netherlands. So please tell us about your starting here in South Africa and going over to Netherlands.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, it started off to put things straight. One thing is for a fact, apartheid was, the worst thing was for Africans, you people, with apartheid. But being a gay man was also not a pleasure. So anyone who say being a gay man during apartheid had a normal life than would be now, would be lying, So we were also, if you went to the army, you had a big stress, whether you'll survive the army, etc., and things like that. You didn't get proper job opportunities and things. And my dad had a Dutch citizen. So I didn't leave South Africa because of, I think it was a rubbish country. It was due to the situations of that time. And, most of the gay people, if they tried to make a career, they had to be quiet about their gay status, or they became hairdressers. And I would tell you, if I would have become a hairdresser, nobody would have had hairs. So that was my big reason, when I left actually for South Africa, tried to have, and not that I wanted to be some kind of dancing queen, but I just wanted a normal life like my parents have, and that was my big thing leaving South Africa. And I had to think, but what I've also said in my book is, if you think that the grass is greener on the other side, immigrating, it is, maybe it is greener, but it's because there's more shit on the other side of the fence, and that's make grass greener, So I don't think that
they have their own stuff,
everyone's got their own stuff, and some things are better, some things are worse. It's all different, but you can't take away your roots, So one thing that you must remember when you leave, your roots where you were born stay your roots. So it is still your things that is. And I also think it's important never to turn your back on your old country. And if it's possible, try to still invest. And I do a lot of investing in my hometown, helping a lot of students. I have a lot of students who went to university. I gave bursaries, revamping the schools, the high schools there. During COVID, I helped them financially.
I don't want us to jump the gun because I want to ask you so much about that. It's so interesting to me how you are giving back, even though you are that side, how you are giving back to your own country. Tell us about the businessman that you are, though. I know that there's quite a few entities that you also touch.
Yeah, I started off studying accountancy in South Africa, and then I pursued it in the Netherlands. And then I worked at one of the big four accounting firms. And at a certain stage, I started off with my own consulting firm. And we are specialized in nonprofit finance. It's a very specialized financial system in Europe. And we first started off with an office in Holland, and one office became 3 offices. And then we also got an office in Belgium. And in 2016, I invested actually in clothing factories in Asia. And I bought one factory, and I think my husband, I'm married now for 20 years, but he almost killed me when I said that we've got 2,000 staff members in Asia. And 2000 became...
I love creating employment. I hear you,
Yeah, and then 2000 went to 6,000 staff members with 11 factories in Asia, and then we sold it in 2021, 22. Then we sold the factories in Asia. And I still got my consulting firms in the Netherlands, and I'm doing a lot of social projects and investing in projects as well.
I love it, and I'm going to fall right on that social projects. Jy glo ons moet mekaar help, en daar was 'n beautiful documentary wat op Kyknet was, Bus uit Oekraïne. I absolutely, this blew my mind. So, of course, with the war in Europe, you were like an angel that got there and you checked out the situation and you're like an ons moet iets hier aan doen, because that's what you told your husband, right? You were like to your husband, we
Yeah.
have to do something about this. We can't just sit and do anything, you know? I want to take you back to a particular story, the bags of the people that basically you had to take into the bus. You have such a beautiful story about that.
You're trying to get me to tears here.
No, 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 not at all, not at all, please.
No, yeah, it was very sad. We were actually traveling around the world. And for us to travel at that time, we had the two of us, we had, and I'm not exaggerating, we had 16 suitcases, because we were 6 months, on a ship and going all over. And we had to have clothes for Antarctica, but also for islands and things like this, so all kind of weather. And then you got there, and we got this bus, and we were in a house in France, and then I went up via Slovenia to Ukraine, and I got this women and children, and it was 52 people in this bus, and all their suitcases could fit into a mini golf, some little suitcases it was. And it was really devastating for me that time. I was like totally shocked, like, is this everybody's things? And that's all that I took, and that's all I have. And I've still got a lot of contact with them. I actually spoke to one of the ladies this morning, and we still keep in contact. It became like a new family for me, friends. And if there's something wrong or one of the kids has got problem at school, I go as the dad, because the dad's in Ukraine. So all the moms always grow on me. And yeah, no, that's also, and I feel that if you can help your neighbor, try to help, in any difference, so maybe, I can help on this side a bit more, but, I think even if someone sometimes help with 10 Rand, it's still a difference, it is, even if you walk past a homeless person, any way you can help any person, because we are all beings in this earth, and not one being is more important than another being.
Oh, man, absolutely. I love your heart, and I love that you helped in that case to actually get some people out of the Ukraine in that devastating time. Of course, there's a story that you also tell so beautifully about the lady who had a dog from Jock of the Bushfield. It was a similar
Yeah.
type of dog, and she actually saved the dog because she was can I say, she was mindful of all the missiles that were coming in. But there's also this one particular story, and it's the last story that I wanted to touch on before we move to your book. There was a 3-week-old baby that you found in a bin.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a sad thing. We almost adopted the baby, but what happened was we just found this baby, and when we started searching and see if she's healthy, there was a bank card inside of her nappy. And then we saw who the mother was, or the name of the parents, so we could find her by this way. The government found it, and the baby was still found, but she got in the middle of some kind of shooting on a corridor, and she just thought that if they're going to kill her, my baby's also dead. So she hoped that if she puts the baby in a bin and someone finds her and she's dead, then the babies will survive, because if you get shot and something is in your arms, that won't survive. So that is how she actually got through that, and then we got them reunited again. But the mom was in a hospital in Krakow in Poland, and that is how the two got reunited again.
Yes, man. Thank you for really being the human being, an example of a human being that we should be, and that is mainly to help each other. I think in a world, especially as today, I know I've been actually sharing with my friends that God challenged me to start illogically giving, to give when it doesn't make sense. I sometimes do not understand, but I see why. There's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture that's bigger than us as human beings. So to
Yeah.
you, definitely want to say thank you for that. The stuff that you still do in South Africa, we touched a little bit on how you're helping schools this side as well. I believe that you're also giving back to a school in Richards Bay.
Yes, the high schools were not only my own high school, but also the English high school and the and in the municipality, I would say, because I've also done projects with Mpangeni and so. And I'm always trying to do it directly to the children. For me, one thing, a child never asks for love. A child just gets love. So and some of them, you can't choose where your bed are. So it is, and I've got some daring friends already, who's almost like children already for me, who studied, and Fundile Nene, she's from Escaweni, and the place where she lives, a lot of times she didn't have electricity or streaming water or things, and now she had a bursary through us. And she is working at a lawyer firm as an advocate in Sandton, and she's got a nice life and everything, and she can help her whole family.
That's
So
good.
yeah, so that is a very important thing for me. So I always look at the income of the parents. So the parents are not allowed to have above a certain income to get a bursary or something, or any financial help. And the second thing, I also look at what we state in our contract. So a lot of people, firms, they give a bursary and then they say, okay, you have to work it back for us or so. And we only stipulate that they have to pay it forward. So before a certain age, they have to do something good again for someone else. So that is the only thing that's stipulated in our contracts when they get the bursary.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's get into your book. Immigrating Successfully. And it's basically like an insider guide that you have, right? But please tell us, what do you mean by this, immigrating successfully? How different is it from your how-to guide?
Well, to start off with is, to be honest, I'm not very creative. I'm more into facts and, figures. And really 2 days before the book went to the printer, we had to, or to the press, we had to give a name, and I still didn't have a name 2 days before it went to the press, and the book was finished, and everybody at the publishers of Naledi was like, but what are we going to call it? And we were talking, and we were in a group, and then someone said, Immigrating Successfully, the Insider's Guide. And I said, okay, let's go for it, And the only thing is there's a lot of entrepreneurship in it, and it's also a way of thinking. So sometimes people think it's about, telling people how to go out of the country. And I'm like, don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh!
Because that's what it's about. So for me, I would say it is, personally, I would not buy a book on how to immigrate, because if you're how to immigrate, you can find that on Google, and I can see exactly what I need or how to do. And if you need already a book to say how to immigrate, then I think you should not even immigrate. For me, immigration is the mindset you have to have. You must be open. I lived in Asia. I lived in so many countries. And one thing I also explain in my book is like a lot of people had this prejudgment on Asia or on, and on China and things. While I've it's one of the best countries I've seen in my life. I love the Chinese people. They're such nice and loving and caring, hard-working, and this. But so many people, and so many people have got a judgmental about it who has not even been there.
Literally,
and that is
ignorance.
And that's a big thing, So I'm actually in my book trying to give the people a mindset, but even I got writings already from people who bought my book in South Africa who told me, geez, I left from KZN or from Gauteng and I moved to Cape Town, and even your book is helping me on how to think, on how to establishing on a new area, because it's also a different culture, because South Africa is such a big country. So, but it's more the way of thinking and thinking successfully, but also getting out of all these biases that the way of thinking of and little things. Even my book, I gave an example because I grew up with Zulus, and I always say in Zulu to the people, the culture, what they are, because I don't know if you know what Zulu means. Do you know what Zulu means?
Please educate me.
Zulu means heaven, and Zulu.
I definitely.
Yes, exactly. And Zulu lands means the land of heaven, and that's really how Zulu land felt for me. And the Zulu people, it's like people from heaven. And the culture, a lot of people just see something and judge, and they don't ask. And I remember as a child, Zulu ladies, if you would see two mamas at the road, if they talk extremely loud. Wow, and for Western people, usually would firstly think, oh, that is rude. You don't shout like that on the street, you know. But I learned from the
It's
Zulu people, for example, I learned from them, if you speak out loud, then everybody can hear what you're saying and you're not talking bad about someone. That is why people in Zulu speak loud, because they don't like gossiping. Isn't that beautiful? You know,
beautiful.
so
That is
learn about each other's culture and think, oh, this is, you know, interesting. Then I thought, oh, this is good. I'm also going to sometimes speak a bit louder because then people know I'm not talking about them. They can listen. I'm not shy. I'm not embarrassed. And all these different ways of thinking. But instead of looking at your own corner or your own box, and then you think, okay, if you don't fit in my box, then you're wrong. You know, I sometimes think, you know, open your box and, you know, try to get anything into it, you know,
John,
and experience it.
ek love wat jy sê want ek het onlangs 'n boek gelees. I don't know if you've also read it. The book is called Who Moved My Cheese. So of course it's basically a book about two human beings and two mice that basically chase
Yeah,
their cheese. But
yeah,
it's impossible for humans to actually think, but how can I learn from this? And this is
yeah.
exactly what I have learned actually from going through your book, is that what you're trying to do is you're teaching us to thrive in just new environments. And that's what you're doing.
Yes, yeah, yeah, exactly. And that is important for me, how to open yourself and things, because remember, borders, you know, between South Africa, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, most borders are created by humans,
Yeah.
you know. So it is. And Erasmus in the 16th century, you know, he was a philosopher from Holland, and he said, I'm not from Holland, I'm not from Europe, I'm just one person living on Earth, you know. So forget about all these borders that's created, and thinking like it, you know, and learn from everything, experience life, and especially experience the beauty, because there's nothing as beautiful as people and all the different cultures. And don't look at the differences, look at the comparisons, because there's much more comparisons, but we have somehow the tendency to think the whole time, oh, this is the difference between me and you know. But there's so much comparisons, you know, as I went over the world, or because I've been in every continent, you know. So, and I've seen, and there's so many comparisons actually between all humans on any continent. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's interesting, and a lot to learn from each other.
What do you miss most about South Africa?
Putupap and bors.
Beautiful. That's pure South African. You do not get that anywhere else besides here,
No,
actually.
no,
And
no.
made you well.
Yeah, no, I love my pap and wors and my sauce and my chakalaka sauce. And if for something else is,
Yeah.
I miss my friends, my people, you know, because if you're in Zululand, you know, you just understand. You've got two words, you understand each other. But always, if you're in a different country, you always have to explain a bit more. So you always miss your people. You'll never not miss your people. So I really miss my people as well.
Which brings me to the next question. Did you ever feel like you had to fit in when you got to Netherlands?
Oh, always. I really, that's one of the big things I warn people, is that you'll always be one note behind. Always, always, always. So, because you're not born there. I've even written here, if it was for my husband, we would never start a business. My husband is very fearful for risk and taking risk and things. I'm more the risk taker, and I'm the real businessman, entrepreneur, you know. And when we moved, you know, to somewhere, everywhere, you know, somewhere, although I'm the successful businessman in our relationship, in Holland, if we would move, because I've got an accent, you know, if I speak Dutch, my Dutch is fluent and so, but I've got an accent. They can hear I'm a foreigner.
I hear you.
So they'll always think my husband is the businessman because he's 100% Dutch, and I'm the housewife because I'm not from Holland, you know. So people are pre-judgmental always. So you always have to fit in, you know, where you go. So it is always a bit of difference in a new culture, and people, you know, you have to, but it is also expected. And I also think that it is expected. You have to learn a language, you have to learn things. But I also say to people, please be a bit of yourself as well. Don't totally go overboard and just ignore your own culture. Always keep a bit of yourself, which is part of you, and things like that. You know, like in Europe, a lot of time people will cook exactly the amount of food for the amount of people that's coming to visit. And in South Africa, we always cook for the weeshuis. You know, we cook enough for an orphanage,
Yeah.
and I still do it because if I get guests or anything, or unexpected guests, people are always allowed. And in Holland, things are usually a bit more on appointment when you go somewhere. So, and if I'll tell people, oh, what are you doing tonight? You want to come and eat here?
Love it. Yeah.
And that's something of myself and of our beautiful South African culture that I kept by myself, that I say, okay, I don't have to be like that.
Ek gaan op baie noot bly. Een van my beste vriende, Reno, he stayed in America for about 10 years, right? And there's something that hit me that he said, and most probably this is something that we can find in your book as well. As to, let's say we have to go over to another country, the culture that there is in that country, won't it overshadow us if maybe we have kids and we want to have them know a bit of a South African root, like you with the Zulus and stuff like that? Or would you say it's just making a little bit of more effort to keep in touch then with the people this side?
I think it will always be a bit difficult for a second generation to keep them a bit more of your culture, but you can do it with learning languages or things like that. So that is always possible. Sometimes I must even laugh is that now and again my own husband, who's born in Holland, 100% Dutch, he will come out and then while speaking, all of a sudden he'll tell me "namanga," and
Love it. You're lying.
yeah, so he will, you learn from each other, and he also. So if people just stands open for it, but I think part of your roots, you must always be proud of where you're from, because I'm not from a rich family or something like that, but I'm still proud of where I'm from or what I'm from or like this. You must never be embarrassed or think that things are, I'm really proud of the whole situation, and I'm proud of Richards Bay. It's a beautiful town and things like it. So no, you can't take it away from me. So, and I think it's only good for your own thing, because if you're going to be ashamed about where you're from, you psychologically in your heart, it's going to cut yourself, because it's a part of you that you're actually ashamed of. So that's not right. So I always say, try to keep it and try to keep up with it, but without pushing it too much for the other people, because otherwise in your new country, people will get annoyed at a certain stage with segregation and things like that.
You have to have a good balance.
Mm.
Johan, ek wil gou ook vir jou, ek het vir jou vragie actually. Hoe eet jy 'n olifant?
Happy for happy.
Yeah, happy for happy. Sticky for sticky. But I know one of the chapters in your book, Immigrating Successfully, you explain how you use the elephant method in moving as well. Please tell us a bit more about that.
It's actually one of my favorite chapters. It's about actually a lot of people just see this elephant as this huge, big, huge ndlovu, this piece of meat. Yes. And there's a lot of symbolism, but a lot of intelligence with an elephant. I'm very respectful to an elephant. I will have my distance. I'll look at what he's doing. Look at his tail. If his tail goes, sharp to the left, he's agitated. So there's a lot of aspects, but also elephant is, I've seen so many documentaries about it, how they are sad, when a child, they've really got a funeral when a child dies or something, and everybody will come give condolences to the mother. But the intelligence, a lot of people think they just storm over all the trees, but they look exactly what tree and they take the exact tree that they want out and things. And I think it's also a symbol for us how we sometimes can be mindful on how we go through life, and that, and more like this. And that is where I said at a certain stage, also when you see a big problem in life, you see this huge elephant, if you would eat it happy for happy, and at a certain stage the problem will finish, and it's the same with that, So, and there's a lot of symbolism that you can use in life, I think, with all the animals, and you can learn from animals, because in Afrikaans they've actually got that nice saying, mens dom en diere ryk. So dier is ryk and mens is dom. Yeah. So that is why I love the comparisons between all kinds of animals. Yeah.
Johan, you are such an inspiration, man, and I want to know who inspires you.
Well, one big of my inspirements was Mr. Mandela. Holy moly, that is no, that
It's
was
funny
really I've
you
got big.
say that because I don't know if you can see my
Oh
shirt.
yes, Madiba. Fantastic. I want one. Tell me where you bought it. I want one. Yeah. Now, I am in my living room as well. You'll see a big picture as soon as you got into my living room of Mr. Mandela when he was just released, and and all the things. I've got so many things, and I've read about him. Even on my bookshelf, I can take any book. Yeah, got a lot of them. Yeah, as well. Mr.
Oh,
Mandela and everything. So I've really got everything of him. Um, so what is for me is things like that, for that inspiration of someone who got really badly treated for 27 years
mm,
and coming out of prison and treating us all with love. That is the thing that I've got so much respect for.
oh,
And I don't think a lot of people had that power to get a unity in it. And that is what my wish is, that not only like he created a unity in South Africa, but that we can create a unity on earth without borders, that people can just go where they want to and enjoy where they want to without all the differences in it. So, and the biggest thing I can remember that brought me to tears was when he started off his inauguration on the 27th of April, and then his speech was in Afrikaans from Ingrid Jonker, and I was like, what the hell, And I remember those days, all a lot of white and especially Afrikaans people were all scared and buying bully beef and candles because I thought this big war is going to come. And just see what he did. And people like that is my inspiration, and of course my own mother and father, and where they helped me, and my community. If it wasn't for my community who also formed me, and that's why I think it's important always to give back to your community, because that's part of your development, and thanks to that I am who I am today. So don't forget it.
oh, man, that's amazing. Johan, baie dankie vir jou tyd, baie dankie vir alles. Ek kan nie wag om jou boek te kry nie. But also I think it's going to be very important if you can do your book in an audiobook, please.
Are you a lazy reader?
You caught me out. You caught me out.
Well, I'll be honest, if I have to do long drives in the car, I also put some audiobooks in the car, so it's also nice driving if you have, and I can think in South Africa as well, it's also, long drives always. So, but it was a very big honor, Thabiso, that you invited me on Jacaranda, one of my favorite as a child. I was actually speaking, I was explaining to Eric, because he loves Jacaranda. When we're on holiday in a Gauteng area, Eric, my husband, he always wants to listen to Jacaranda.
Amazing.
And the big things I was telling him in the olden days, I'm talking about the 80s, you would drive, and the Jacaranda still had the LPs. And
Yes.
then while the song was playing, it all of a sudden would stop because the LP went wrong and went, and it was live on radio and things like it. This was really the good days and so. But I'm a very old also to Jacaranda when I was in the vicinity of Gauteng. I liked to
Man,
listen to it. Thank you.
appreciate it. Yes, home of more music you love. Thank you. Thank you so much, Johan. That was really amazing. Where do we get you on social media?
There's a social media account on Facebook, on Instagram, and it's Johan Oldenberg. Then you'll see my Facebook or Instagram account on it. So please follow me.
Gorgeousness. And then when your book comes out, where do we get that?
The book is already out.
Yes.
Only the first print went out very quickly. The first print was sold out. So the second print is now in the stores, I think, from Wednesday already. So, and all the bookstores, all exclusive books, bargain books, I think any store in South Africa has got my book, all the airports, everywhere. And you can also buy it online from naledi.co.za. So Naledi also sells it online for the same price as in the bookstores. And in the bookstores, you can find it nationwide.
Gorgeousness. Johan, thank you very much. This is good. Please, when you write another book, and also when you're in the country and our times align, please do come visit me in studio. It will be amazing to have you in studio.
Oh, please, please. No, that would be very, very nice. Now I'll enjoy even just meeting you in person for a cup of coffee. I would love to.
Sure, definitely, definitely.
Sure, for sure.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank you.
much. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you. Keep well.
Thabiso Kambule on Jacaranda FM.